Before you push your shopping cart through Walmart's doors again, there is a truth that very few people will openly admit. Not every item carrying a low price tag is a steal, and for older shoppers who have trusted this retail chain for years, a few familiar choices are quietly causing more damage than you think. You'd be awesome if you subscribe and like this video. Top 10 items you should never buy at Walmart. 1. Mainstays Furniture. The internal framing of the Mainstays furniture line is pressed from low-density particle board held together by flimsy glue. Even though its exterior display on the shelf looks quite attractive, the $124 futon and the $68 nightstand are two prime examples of this issue. When you assemble them yourself at home, the screws driven into the porous wood layers can easily strip the threads after just a few tightenings. Many families have shared that the futon starts creaking after only a few weeks of sitting on it, while the nightstand tabletop warps if a sweating water glass is accidentally left on it overnight. The hinges attaching the futon's armrests are also a weak point, typically loosening after a few months of continuous folding and unfolding when converting it from a couch to a bed. One customer recounted that after about 3 months, she had to place extra plywood backing underneath the table legs because the legs were originally only nailed in rather than screwed, causing all 4 legs to gradually separate from the tabletop. If you plan to place anything heavier than a book on this nightstand surface, it's better to reinforce it with rubber pads at the 4 corners to reduce direct pressure. At other mid-tier furniture chains, a similar nightstand made from thicker plywood costs around $95, slightly higher, but in return, you don't have to replace it after exactly 1 year of use. For older adults, having to constantly disassemble and reassemble furniture is not only physically exhausting but also poses a safety risk when lifting it alone, especially on days when weather changes make joints and limbs stiffer than usual. 2. Store brand bath towels. A price of $13 sounds like a great deal for a bath towel set, but after just 3 to 4 washes, the surface starts piling and shedding fibers all over the washing machine, despite packaging that advertises them as soft and absorbent. The cotton fibers are woven more loosely to cut manufacturing costs, so the water absorbency declines gradually, forcing you to use more towels for a single bath. Furthermore, the scratchy, stiff texture after washing and drying can easily irritate the sensitive skin of older adults. The stitching along the edges also unravels quite quickly if washed together with clothes that have zippers or metal buttons. Many people have tried washing them separately in cold water without high heat drying, but still could not avoid the piling, indicating that the issue lies within the material itself rather than the care method. Some premium towel lines at specialized home goods chains cost around $24, but retain their softness through dozens of washes thanks to significantly longer cotton fibers and a much denser weave. 3. Budget shower heads. One user shared that after just 6 weeks, her $13 budget shower head began dripping constantly even when the valve was completely shut off, forcing her to wrap extra Teflon tape around the connector as a temporary fix. The issue lies within the thin plastic ball joint inside the private label shower head line. It is not tightly machined, causing water to leak right at the connection point after just a few weeks of use. The water spray also tends to come out unevenly, strong on one side and weak on the other, with overall pressure dropping noticeably after about 2 months as mineral buildup clogs the tiny plastic nozzles that cannot be deep cleaned. Additionally, the plastic threads connecting to the water pipe can easily crack if over-tightened with a wrench instead of being hand-tightened as directed. If you still want to use this type, you should regularly inspect the connecting threads every month and replace the rubber gasket as soon as you notice unusual moisture around the base of the fixture. Compared to mid-tier shower head lines at home improvement stores, the price can run up to $32, but the finish and metal ball joint help the lifespan last many times longer, a detail well worth considering for households that need stable water pressure for safe showering. The next item on the list is something sitting right in the utility closet of almost every household, and few people have ever thought it would also be on the list of items to be cautious about. 4. Budget laundry baskets and hampers. The handles on both sides of plastic or synthetic fiber laundry baskets, the exact points that bear the most stress when the basket is loaded with wet clothes, are typically attached by thin plastic joints and break easily after just a few months of daily use, even though an estimated price point of around $15 makes this an item that almost every home has at least one of. The bottom of the basket also tends to warp if you leave it in direct contact with a damp floor for extended periods, causing the basket to lose its stability and easily tip over when moved. The exterior plastic surface is also prone to scratching, making it look worn out after just a year, even if you take careful care of it. One older adult recounted that her laundry basket handle snapped abruptly while she was carrying clothes down to the basement, causing all the wet laundry to spill onto the floor, forcing her to wash everything all over again because the clothes were covered in dirt and dust. For collapsible fabric hampers, the internal metal framing also bends and deforms easily after a few consecutive folds and unfolds, causing the hamper to lose its original shape and struggle to stand upright when clothes are placed inside. If you still want to use this type of basket, inspect the handles periodically and avoid loading too many wet items at once, as the weight of the water absorbing into the fabric is the primary cause of stress on the plastic joints. At dedicated durable home goods stores, a laundry basket made from thick plastic or a metal frame costs around $32, but can support a weight load several times heavier without any worry of cracking or breaking halfway through. 5. Cheap kitchen appliances and cookware. An $87 countertop ice maker, a $14 toaster, an $18.88 blender, and a $14.74 frying pan, these 4 items all share a common issue. The internal motors and components are much smaller than the power capacity advertised on the packaging. One family shared that their ice maker started making a strange noise after only about 4 months, and when they called the customer service center, they were informed that this specific issue was not covered under warranty because it was considered normal wear and tear. The blender has to strain itself when crushing ice cubes or frozen fruit, while the blender blades and the frying pan are often made from thin steel, which dulls or degrades rapidly after a few months of regular use. Additionally, the power cords on some of these toasters are quite short and flimsy. With the frying pan, the non-stick coating also peels away quickly if you use metal spoons instead of wooden or silicone utensils. What is even more frustrating is that when a single part breaks, individual replacement components are virtually non-existent, forcing you to buy a whole new appliance. At other mid-tier appliance brands, the price for a comparable blender can run up to $28, but it comes with a clear parts warranty and a significantly more durable motor. 6. Standard rugs and doormats. The top fiber layer on many standard doormats and rugs sheds significantly during the very first few vacuumings, and the thin latex rubber backing underneath, which is supposed to prevent slipping, begins peeling off in small pieces after just a few months of use. Small models in this line are priced at $12, while larger models can reach up to $29.86. The edges of the rug also tend to curl up over time, creating a dangerous tripping hazard right at entryways or in the kitchen area, where older adults frequently walk back and forth multiple times a day. One user recounted that she almost tripped right in front of the kitchen sink when the corner of her rug curled up unexpectedly after about 4 months of use, even though she had repeatedly tried to flatten it out by placing heavy objects on top overnight. Washing these rugs is also an issue, as cheap fibers cannot withstand the washing machine and typically fray or shrink out of shape after a single cycle. Many people are forced to switch to hand washing with cold water just to stretch the lifespan by a few more months. The colors on budget rugs also fade quickly under sunlight, causing areas near windows to look patchy after just a few months of display. At specialized home furnishings chains, rugs with solid rubber backing cost around $45, but grip the floor securely and do not peel over long periods of use. For an item placed directly in daily walkways, safety should be prioritized over an initially low price tag. Have you noticed how this list is gradually hitting the seemingly most harmless items in the house? The next one is even more common, and it sits right in the laundry room or utility closet of many households without anyone ever suspecting it. 7. Plastic storage bins. The cheap recycled polypropylene plastic used in standard multi-purpose plastic storage bins is inherently brittler than virgin plastic, making the corners prone to cracking when you stack a few boxes on top of each other in the garage or basement. Small boxes in this collection are priced at $6.44, while the largest version reaches $16.86. The lids often warp after a few months of exposure to changing temperatures, preventing the box from sealing tightly and allowing small insects to slip inside. The side handles, the parts that bear the most stress when you lift a bin packed with items, are also the most common breaking points according to feedback from longtime users. Some customers have even shared that the bottom of the bin sags when holding heavy items over a long period, causing cracks to gradually spread from the center out to the edges. One user shared that her largest box cracked right at the bottom corner after just one winter of storing holiday decorations, even though she had never moved the box after stacking it onto the shelf. If you must use this type of bin, avoid stacking more than 3 boxes high and always lift with both hands instead of relying solely on the plastic handles. At dedicated home organization stores, a set of thicker plastic bins costs around $28 but can be stacked securely and withstand impacts during multiple moves. For older adults who store seasonal items, a bin cracking open halfway through while being carried can pose a greater physical hazard than just the mere financial loss of buying a replacement. 8. Wall clocks and home decor. The modern design of the $3.88 wall clock looks quite eye-catching when first purchased, but the exterior paint finish often peels off after just a few months of hanging in a sunlit room. One customer shared that the clock hanging in her kitchen began running about 5 minutes slow per week after only 3 months of use, causing the entire family to constantly be late for appointments without knowing the cause stemmed from the clock itself. The clock hands are attached by small plastic joints, which easily fall off the spindle if accidentally bumped while dusting. Furthermore, the hanging hook on the back is usually made of thin metal that bends easily when fixed to the wall using a nail larger than the recommended size. If hung in high humidity areas like near a bathroom, it is even more prone to rusting sooner than expected. Many other decor items at the same price point suffer from similar material issues, ranging from picture frames that warp easily to decorative figurines that chip easily at the corners. At specialized home decor stores, a clock featuring an internal metal mechanism typically costs around $22, but maintains its accuracy through years of continuous use. For items meant for aesthetics and requiring long-term durability in a living space, a small initial price gap is usually more than worth it compared to having to constantly replace them every few months. 9. Air mattresses. Pumped fully firm before bed, but sinking nearly halfway by morning. That is what many people recount when using the $55 air mattress, which is typically purchased for overnight guests or taken along for camping trips. One older couple shared that they had to re-inflate the mattress twice during the night when their grandkids visited for the holidays, and the next morning both experienced noticeable lower back pain. The PVC material making up this mattress is quite thin compared to heavy-duty air mattress lines, causing the valve to not seal tightly and allowing air to slowly leak out throughout the night. This is especially frustrating for older adults who are sensitive to unstable sleeping surfaces. The seams at the mattress corners are also a weak point, easily fraying if collapsed incorrectly during storage, while the included electric pump is low-powered, making full inflation time-consuming and prone to overheating if run continuously. Compared to a heavy-duty outdoor air mattress line priced around $90, the difference lies in the thickness of the plastic layer and a double-lock valve system that keeps the air stable for multiple consecutive nights. A small investment that, in return, buys a good night's sleep for guests. Interestingly, the final item in this section is not a physical product, but rather the thing that causes many people to waste money needlessly without even realizing it. 10. Extended warranties for home appliances. Numerous scenarios are excluded from the coverage scope, ranging from damage caused by improper use to defects deemed normal wear and tear, even though cashiers frequently offer the added extended warranty plan at an extra charge of around $8, which can run up to $10 in some places depending on the value of the original product when you check out budget home appliances. The claim process also typically takes several weeks to process, and quite a few customers have shared that their claims were denied due to missing a minor detail on the original receipt. One customer recounted that she had to call 3 times within 2 weeks just to check on the claim status for her broken blender, only to ultimately be told that her receipt had been lost in the system. For items that already carry a low price tag, such as an $18.88 blender or a $14.74 frying pan, this $8 warranty fee sometimes accounts for nearly half of the product's value, while the likelihood of getting a claim approved is quite low. Some customers even discovered that the warranty package they bought did not apply to the correct product listed on the receipt due to a data entry error at the checkout counter during peak hours, causing them to lose both the extra fee paid and receive absolutely no benefits. If you are considering purchasing this warranty plan, photograph your receipt right at the counter and double-check the product name carefully before leaving the store to avoid headaches down the road. If you truly need peace of mind, using a credit card that comes with a built-in purchase protection policy usually offers comparable benefits without costing any extra fees. There is a corner in the store that almost everyone stops by every time they grocery shop, and few people suspect that it is a place harboring greater risks than even the items just mentioned. Why you should think twice before buying meat here. In addition to the home goods mentioned above, the fresh meat counter is another area causing many families to gradually change their shopping habits, and the issue starts right with the printed label on the packaging. Sourcing labels are typically quite vague, failing to specify the exact farm or livestock region like retail chains specializing in fresh groceries do. Furthermore, the USDA grades on the beef packaging lean heavily toward the standard, select, or choice tiers rather than premium prime, leading to inconsistent tenderness and marbling between purchases. Quite a few customers have also reported that the color of the meat in pre-packaged trays is sometimes inconsistent with the meat hidden beneath the top layer, a sign that the packaging process is not as strictly controlled as expected. One customer recounted buying a tray of ground beef that appeared bright red and fresh on the top layer, but when she opened it to cook, she discovered the bottom section had already turned a dull gray, forcing her to throw away nearly half the tray. The seafood counter also frequently lacks dedicated staff to assist with advice on freshness or proper storage. Additionally, poultry options rarely include organic or free-range selections, consisting mostly of conventional lines with low price tags but a highly average uniform quality. Furthermore, the cold chain management at certain stores is occasionally disrupted during peak hours, affecting the freshness of meat left out for extended periods on open display shelves. The pork selection here also typically lacks heritage breed lines, which are highly prized for their flavor and grain texture, even though the retail price is usually about $4 more per pound. Many families have also noticed that the pre-packaged portions are inflexible, making it difficult to adjust to specific cooking needs compared to having a butcher cut the meat directly to order. And perhaps the most noteworthy point is that while the meat prices here are low, when calculated against the actual quality received, many people realize they are paying for sheer volume rather than real nutritional value and flavor. Before you leave the store, there is something more important than the items you just tossed into your cart, and that is the exact way you walked through each aisle without even realizing it. Behavioral psychology traps and supermarket merchandising tactics. Right after the warranty fee you just wasted at the checkout counter, there is another phenomenon quietly unfolding throughout your entire shopping trip that few people notice. The shelf layouts and signages themselves are meticulously calculated to guide you into spending more than intended. Stepping through the doors, a red sign reading rollback hits your eyes immediately, and your brain reacts almost instantly, triggering that sensation of having just scored a deal, even though the actual markdown is often just a few spare cents. Before that feeling even fades, you find yourself in front of a shelf where a name brand box is always placed directly adjacent to the significantly cheaper, great value private label version, causing you to automatically opt for the cheaper one without realizing that this price gap was engineered from the very start. Milk and eggs, two items that almost every household needs every week, are invariably located all the way in the back of the store, forcing you to walk past entire aisles of baked goods, scented candles, and home decor before you can grab exactly what you came for. One customer shared that she only intended to stop by for breakfast milk, but ended up pushing out a full cart, with her total bill inflating by more than half of her original budget. This aligns perfectly with statistics showing that average actual spending increases by 25 to 70% compared to the grocery list you walked in with. Buying in bulk to save money is also not guaranteed to be beneficial unless you glance at the unit price per ounce printed in small font beneath the shelf, as larger boxes can sometimes be more expensive per unit. When you open your phone at home that evening to compare, it is not uncommon to find that the item you just bought was over 12% cheaper on the website. Yet at the register, employees refuse to honor the price match. A low price is not always a bargain. Sometimes paying a few extra dollars saves you much more down the road. By just paying close attention each time you grocery shop, you can completely avoid the majority of the risks mentioned above.